Thank you, thank you. Well, it is indeed a pleasure to be with you. It's a pleasure to be with so many of the mob. You know how the folks on the other side say you're an angry mob, you're only out because you're a bunch of racists. I have to tell you, it is fun. It is good to be with you. Thank you. My friends, before I go any further, I have to do something else. I have to thank you because, as was mentioned in the introduction, this past November, the people of Texas, for the third time in the last 10 years, were kind enough to re-elect a bald-head guy that generally wears bow ties and cowboy boots to the Railroad Commission of Texas, so I thank you. My friends, let me tell you something. I want you to think back to a year ago this week. A year ago this week, I had the distinct honor to be in St. Paul, Minnesota at the Republican National Convention. And you may remember a Wednesday night when I stood in the middle of that basketball arena and had the unique honor that no one else in this country had, and that was to place the name of John McCain in nomination to be President of the United States. You may also remember that earlier that evening, I went to that podium and had a chance to talk to the American people about why I believe Senator McCain was prepared to be President of the United States. I said then that he knew in the core of his soul that life begins at conception. I said that he wanted to win the war against terror and not simply end it. And he had enough sense to know that you don't raise taxes in the middle of recession. My friends, and we left St. Paul so excited. We knew that the tide had turned, but more than 52% of the American people disagreed with us. And there are a number of reasons for that, but the interesting thing is this. So on inaugural day, we got up and some of us said, how much damage can a man do in 4 years? And now we see how much damage you can do in 9 months. My friends, let me tell you something. It's very, very interesting. One of the reasons I'm so proud to be here with you is that I'm proud to be with the people that know that you were created in the likeness and image of God, that you understand the sanctity and infinite value of human life, that you know that human dignity doesn't come from how much wealth or prosperity or prestige we have. It comes from knowing that you're the sons and daughters of a Heavenly Father, and who know that you loaned power to the government for the purpose of defending, preserving, and protecting your rights. And that when the government overreaches, it is your responsibility to call the note. My friends, as we stand here on this lawn today, I want us to remember that the challenge that we have in the country today is about freedom. It's about protecting and preserving the freedoms that we hold and share so dearly. And you know, it's interesting, as I also stand here, I think about my grandfather. My grandfather was born and raised in the segregated South here in Texas. And he grew up to become a small entrepreneur. And he sent his 2 kids to college and into graduate school. And he invested in my mom and my uncle and myself and then his grandkids. How sickened he would be today to see the generational theft that's occurring in this country. And you know the numbers. You know that a child born today, the parents will get a birth certificate in one hand and a $30,000 federal deficit bill in the other. You know that this president and his cohorts in Washington are amassing debt that is more than every president from George Washington to George W. Bush combined. You know that what we have to be about the business of doing in Washington is cutting spending, curtailing earmarks, ending the czars, and discontinuing the slide towards European-style socialism. My friends, you know, so many Americans bought the Kool-Aid. They got to hearing the message about hope and change. I know we're here just hoping he changes, but just in case he doesn't, you know, they heard that, you know, the phrase, yes, we can. And now we know that what they really meant was, no, you can't, but the government will do it for you. And there's one place where you see that in real reality, and that's in this debate about health care. As Americans, we want people to be as healthy as possible for as long as possible with the lowest possible cost. And we believe the best way to do that is to spur competition and innovation and entrepreneurship. But you know what's happening there. Somebody there is going to want to tell you how to take care of your health needs. All you have to do is stand behind me and see the scar on the back of my head and realize that about 15 years ago I had some health challenges myself. I am healthy today. But I can remember sitting in a room at a table, myself and my wife and my 3 doctors, as we talked about who I wanted to do surgery on me. We talked about the treatment and the therapy that they were going to employ. We talked about when it was going to begin. And we talked about when it was going to stop. And it was my decision. The last thing we want is a federal bureaucrat standing between us and our doctors. My friends, all we got to do if you want to expand health opportunities is make sure this conversation moves from health insurance to health care. And there are 2 models we can use. Think about the health savings account. Right now, the federal government says that an individual can have health savings account of $2,850. Why don't we move that from $2,850 to somewhere around $5,000? Why don't we take the health savings account limit for the family of about $5,000 and move it to about $16,000 or more? Let you buy health care and health insurance in pre-tax dollars. In addition to that, why not allow you to go out and buy health insurance from insurance carriers irrespective of whether they're in Texas or not, and encourage competition? In addition to that, why don't we move the experience in Texas all the way to Washington, D.C., and have tort reform as part of the plan as well? And my friends, recognizing they're poor in this country, recognizing the lesson that we learned in 1996 with welfare reform, devolved from the federal government back to us in Texas, the states, the power to take care of our poor. My friends, there's so much more that we could do. And I'm looking at the clock here and they're saying, Michael, it's almost time for you to go. So I just want to do a couple things before we leave. A couple things I want to do is that she was kind enough to mention I'm running for the United States Senate. And I didn't want to make this a Senate. No, we're not making this a Senate speech today. This is a Tea Party speech today. But I do think as I go around this state, you are telling me there's something in particular you're looking for. You are telling me that you want somebody who is a consistent and reliable conservative. You're saying you want somebody who has the courage to stand up to Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. You're saying you want somebody that won't be seduced by the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the K Street lobby. You're saying you want somebody who can rally Americans around the next generation of conservative principles. My friends, I just want you to know that back when I first became a railroad commissioner, we had more than 900 employees. We have less than 700 today because we took to heart your demand for smaller government. My friends, also want you to know that back in 2005, the legislature was kind enough to give the 9 of us in the executive branch a $32,000 pay raise. And in 2007, they gave us another $13,000 per year pay raise, $45,000 per year. That, since 2005, has been about $155,000, and I have never taken a penny.